Thank you for accessing this information pack regarding the proposed Victorian TAFE Teaching Staff Multi-Enterprise Agreements 2018. If you have any questions regarding any terms and conditions of this agreement, please contact your Human Resources Department as detailed at the end of this presentation. This presentation is designed to provide you with information regarding the proposed MEA so that you can decide whether to vote yes or no. The session will advise you what is a multi-enterprise agreement, the objectives of the MEA, the process undertaken to date, the key features of the agreement, and details on how to vote and timeframes. So, what is an MEA? Fair Work define it as a multi-enterprise agreement made between two or more employers that are not all single interest employers. In this case, it is proposed by all 12 standalone TAFEs. The MEA will only be implemented at each TAFE if the majority of employees vote yes at that particular TAFE. For example, at TAFE A, the majority of votes vote yes. This means that TAFE A will now be part of the new agreement. At TAFE B, the majority of staff vote no. This means that TAFE B will remain bound by the terms and conditions of the existing 2015 MEA until they reach a new agreement. So, why this MEA? The existing MEA expired in 2016. The 2015 agreement provided for a commitment for negotiations to commence immediately. The last pay increase for TAFE teachers was on the 1st of July 2016. The VTA, with TAFE Human Resources representatives, have been negotiating on behalf of the employers, the Victorian TAFE Institutes. On the employee side, there were several employee representatives, the AEU and the NTEU. The Victorian Government has committed to supporting a comprehensive agreement, and the Fair Work Commission helped all the parties with interest-based bargaining in the early stages of negotiations. When negotiating the agreement, the objectives were to provide a comprehensive agreement written in plain English. This means that we don't have to refer to the old award, the modern award, and the many schedules that are attached to the existing agreement. In other words, it will and should be much simpler to interpret for everyone. TAFE needs to be a more flexible workforce to meet the changing needs of students, business and community and lead the way to meet those needs. We need to make sure we deliver quality teaching and increase the overall student experience. And more secure employment for our teaching workforce and salary increases, which ensure that Victorian TAFE teachers will be amongst the best paid in the country. The case for change. Things have changed. Many changes were needed to incorporate the new legislative requirements of the Fair Work Act. The underpinning award has changed and we can no longer refer to the award embedded in the existing agreement. Fair Work are moving towards more simplified agreements in plain English. In line with Victorian Government policy changes, family violence leave has been introduced and family leave has been amended. There are many appendices attached to the existing MEA and it is a difficult document to navigate for both employers and staff. The process to date. How have we got to where we are today? Victorian TAFE Institutes appointed the VTA to negotiate on their behalf. The process was delayed when the AEU withdrew from negotiations from June to December last year. This resulted in the VTA having to reissue a Notice of Employee Representational Rights to recommence negotiations. The AEU, NTEU and several staff representatives negotiated on behalf of TAFE teachers. All parties sought a simplified agreement and indeed agreement has been reached and it has now been approved by both Treasury and the Department. Now let's talk about what is in the agreement. Salary increases will take effect from the 1st of May 2018. In Year 1, the salary increase is 5.4%. In Years 2, 3 and 4, salary increases of 2.7% will occur every 6 months. Over the life of the agreement, this delivers a compounding salary increase of 23.7%. As you can see from the salary structure and classification table, there is a new classification structure. We have moved from the T levels to L levels and from SE to EM. This new structure provides more career progression for our TAFE teachers. There is a new L 3.4 level and an increased requirement for an AQF 6 approved teaching qualification in the L3 categories. The table shows a direct translation across. So, for example, a T5 will translate to an L 3.3 and a T2.1 will translate to an L 1.1. The T1.1 and T1.2 classifications are removed and the new starting point is L 1.1. The Senior Educator Level 1 is to be grandfathered out. What this means is that there will be no more appointments at that level. Existing staff employed as an SE1 will retain their existing conditions. The casual classifications are similar to the existing structure. However, it too allows for a higher level in line with the structure for ongoing and fixed term staff and requiring an AQF 6 teaching qualification. There is still a teaching and non-teaching rate. The casual teaching duty hour rate is inclusive of preparation, planning, curriculum development and assessment that directly relates to the teaching duty hour worked by the employee. So what does this mean? Inclusive in the hourly teaching rate is that it is expected that the employee outside of the 1 hour of teaching duties undertake preparation and correction, planning, curriculum development and assessment relating to that hour of teaching. So what does this look like? The existing casual classifications will translate as per the table in front of you. As you can see, a casual teacher with a Certificate 4 teaching qualification will translate to Level 1. A casual teacher who has a Diploma teaching qualification will translate to Level 2. There is also a new Level 3 in line with the requirement of an AQF 6 or above approved teaching qualification. The minimum teaching qualifications required to be classified within the classification structure commence as follows. Level 1 requires a Certificate 4 TAE. Level 2 requires an approved AQF 5 teaching qualification. And Level 3 requires an approved AQF 6 or above teaching qualification. The approved AQF 5 and AQF 6 and above qualifications must contain the following: studies in adult learning methodology, studies in teaching in a vocational education environment, studies in applied research linked to the Boyer framework of scholarship, and 200 hours of supervised practicum. In line with the principles of the Victorian Public Sector Industrial Relations Policy of promoting secure employment, this agreement provides for ongoing employment as the standard mode of employment. However, it is agreed that some fixed term or casual employment will continue to be necessary. Fixed term employees can be engaged for the following reasons: for the replacement of a staff member on leave, for the replacement of a staff member on parental leave, or when an employee is employed for a fixed period of time for the predominant purpose to undertake a specific program or project limited by funding. A casual employee may be engaged where the employment is short-term, is intermittent, is irregular, is informal, where it has no reasonable expectation of continuing, where it lacks advance commitment or certainty as to the duration of the employee's employment, or where it fluctuates in hours. A casual employee can only be engaged for up to 13 weeks within a 12-month period. They cannot be employed to teach more than a maximum of 21 hours a week or 40 hours in a 2-week period. A casual employee may be engaged for longer than 13 weeks if they are a genuine industry expert, or the employee's skills are in demand and the employee cannot commit to regular employment with the employer. The employer will offer ongoing employment to an eligible employee where a suitable ongoing position is available. The employer will conduct a review of fixed-term and casual employees in April of each year, or such other time as agreed by the employer and the union. to identify those employees who are eligible for conversion, to identify suitable ongoing positions, and to offer ongoing employment to eligible employees where a suitable ongoing position is available. An eligible employee for the purpose of conversion is a fixed-term or casual employee employed continuously for 12 months. The full procedure for conversion is outlined in Clause 13 of page 12 of the agreement. As with the existing agreement, the ordinary hours of work are 38 hours per week. Teachers are accountable for 1748 hours of teaching and other duties per year. Teachers are required to attend their work location for up to 5 days and 30 hours per week for up to 42 weeks per year. Scheduled and unscheduled duties do not apply with this new agreement. There is a provision within the agreement that a teacher may be requested to attend their work location when they were not otherwise due to attend for professional development and/or compliance duties. When a teacher is requested to do this, their attendance is reduced by an equivalent number of days when this occurs, i.e., 1 day to attend a PD during the 43rd week is replaced with 1 day during the 42 weeks as a day that they are not required to attend their work location. To meet the demands of industry, community and students, the span of ordinary hours has been increased to 6 AM to 10 PM Monday to Friday and 9 AM to 5 PM on Saturday. This is the new ordinary and reflects expectations across most industry sectors. In this new agreement, there is also a provision for staff who work unsociable hours. Unsociable hours are for teaching work rostered during the times of 6 AM to 8 AM and 8 PM to 10 PM Monday to Friday and 9 AM to 5 PM on Saturday. If you are rostered to teach during these times, you will be credited for 15 minutes of each teaching hour against your teaching load. So let's see how this works in practice. The examples on this slide show how teaching during unsociable hours will affect your work plan and annual teaching allocation. We've used the example of Fred. If Fred teaches from 6 PM to 9 PM on a Monday, his teaching allocation in his annual work plan will be recorded as follows. The 6 till 8 PM slot is recorded as 2 teaching hours, but from 8 to 9 PM it will be recorded as 1.25 teaching hours. A total of 3.25 teaching hours is recorded against the up to 800 hours of teaching duty hours allocated in Fred's work plan. 0.25, or a quarter of a teaching hour, translates to 15 minutes. Fred also teaches from 9 AM to 12 PM on a Saturday. His work plan teaching hours will be recorded as follows. 9 AM to 12 PM is 3 hours of teaching that will be recorded as 3.75 teaching hours, i.e. 3 hours and 15 minutes for each teaching hour. A total of 3.7 teaching hours is recorded against the up to 800 hours of teaching duty hours allocated in Fred's annual work plan. Overtime has been introduced into the new agreement. Overtime is only payable if you are directed by your employer to work these hours. During the span of ordinary hours, you are required to work up to 8 hours per day and 38 hours per week. If you are rostered to work more than 8 hours per day or 38 hours per week, or rostered to work out of the ordinary span of hours, then you are entitled to be paid overtime. Overtime is payable for each hour worked at 150% of the first 2 hours and 200% for each hour thereafter, Monday to Saturday. Sunday overtime hours are paid at the rate of 200% per hour, and public holiday overtime is at 250% for each hour you are rostered to work. Under Section E of this agreement, it is agreed that this section and its provisions will not apply until the 1st of January 2019, allowing room for transition. What this means is that your existing work allocations and work planning provisions will continue to apply until the 1st of January 2019. This section outlines how duties and work are allocated. Teaching work is made up of various components that fall within 2 categories. They are teaching duties and teaching related duties. Teaching work is rostered and required by the employer and will be agreed between the manager and teacher in a work plan. Teaching duties are related to teaching and learning of students and/or classes to an annual maximum of 1,200 hours and consist of A. Teaching delivery face-to-face, online or by other means, and supervision of students to a maximum of 800 hours annually. And B. Preparation, planning, curriculum development and assessment undertaken prior to, during and at the completion of a student's course of study. What this means is that assessment is not considered part of the 800 teaching delivery hours and does not count towards the 800 hours in the work plan. Allowances as we know them are not included in the new agreement and do not apply, i.e. those curriculum and other allowances in the existing agreement. The allocation of teaching duties can be an average of 21 hours of teaching delivery per week over each 21-week teaching period. The other component of a teacher's work is characterised as teaching-related duties. This is made up of other work that is necessary for a teacher to do their job at the direction of the employer. This can be institute and regulator compliance, industry and community engagement, planning and curriculum development, maintaining teaching and vocational currency, program-related applied research and innovation, and other duties including relevant travel and meetings. To help teachers and managers manage a teacher's work, a work plan must be developed. The work plan is determined by consultation and agreement in writing between the manager and the teacher. The work plan can be varied as agreed and signed off by both parties. For those teachers working a standard calendar year, the work plan must be finalised by the 1st of March of the year to which it applies. If the manager and the teacher cannot reach agreement, then a default work plan must be put in place by the manager. The structure of the default work plan is in the agreement. The agreed work plan is developed in consultation between the manager and teacher in line with the timetabling and operational needs of the program area. It comprises two components, a maximum of 1,200 hours of teaching duties and the balance of teaching related duties to a total of 1,748 hours per annum. The teaching component of teaching duties does not include in-class and out-of-class assessment. If the manager and teacher cannot agree on the work plan, the default work plan is set by the manager. The default work plan is made up of 1,200 hours of teaching duties, 388 teaching related duties, and up to 160 other duties to a total of 1,748 hours. Other duties is defined as other duties including relevant travel and meetings. We have retained the excess teaching duty hours clause in this agreement. Excess teaching duty hours can be utilised and agreed between the manager and teacher. Excess teaching hours are capped at 150 teaching hours per annum. If a teacher undertakes excess teaching duty hours, they will be paid a 50% loading for each hour inside the span of ordinary hours. If the ETDH is outside the span of ordinary hours, overtime rates will apply. The agreement has leave entitlements including family violence leave, emergency services leave, court attendance leave, defence reserve leave, cultural and ceremonial leave, industrial dispute resolution training leave, study leave and sabbatical leave. These are all summarised in the document titled Information about the Terms and Effect of the Victorian TAFE Teaching Staff Agreement 2018 that will be circulated in both electronic and paper-based form to each of the institutes. Now to voting, eligibility and the voting process. This agreement provides more detail about eligibility for coverage of this agreement and who is entitled to vote. All those staff who will be covered by the agreement, as detailed in the slide in front of you, are eligible to vote. Staff will be voting at the TAFE where they are employed. If a teacher is employed at more than one TAFE, then they can lodge a vote at both. They will be voting for or against the agreement at each individual TAFE where they are employed. Who is not eligible to vote? TAFE teachers who are only teaching in higher education are not covered by this agreement and they are ineligible to vote. If they teach in both the vet and higher education space, then they are covered and are eligible to vote. Industrial skills instructors are neither covered by the agreement nor eligible to vote. and anyone employed as an executive under the ministerial directions or orders issued under the Education Training Reform Act are ineligible to vote and are not covered by the agreement. So, how to vote and timeframes. Voting will be conducted at each individual TAFE in accordance with their voting processes. Teachers will be invited to vote either yes or no for this agreement to be implemented at your TAFE. For the period Thursday 16th of August 2018 to Thursday 23rd of August 2018, all teachers will be provided with information to help them consider the agreement in preparation for voting. This is called the access period and is a legal entitlement. Voting will open on Friday the 24th of August 2018 and close at midday on Wednesday 29th of August 2018. The voting period is the same for all TAFEs. Each institute will email all teaching staff with details and instructions on how to vote. From Thursday the 30th of August 2018, each TAFE will collate their results. If a majority yes vote is not recorded at a particular TAFE, then they will not be part of the agreement. What this means is that only TAFEs who record a majority yes vote will become part of the new agreement. Once this is determined, the employer has 14 days to get all parties to sign and lodge with supporting documentation to the Fair Work Commission. The Fair Work Commission will review the document and ensure that it meets all legislative requirements and passes the Better Off Overall test, or the BOOT. The operative date for the agreement is 7 days after the Fair Work provide approval. Pay increases will be backdated to the 1st of May 2018 and are required to be paid within 28 days after the operative date. The agreement will only cover staff who are employees at the operative date. Thank you for accessing this information pack, and I trust that it's been useful. If you have any questions regarding any terms and conditions contained in the agreement, please contact your Human Resources team. Their details are on the slide in front of you. Thank you very much.